I am Harry Hardwick. I am the Cage Warriors Featherweight World Champion, and I train out of Middlesbrough Fight Academy.
Right, so Harry, what influenced you to start combat sports?
So, I've always had an interest in combat sports. The first video game I ever played was Tekken 2, and I always liked Tekken and I always liked martial arts movies, but I never really, for whatever reason, dipped my toe into martial arts until I was 15 years old. The UFC Undisputed 2009 demo came out on the PS3. There was two fighters you could choose from. There was Chuck Liddell and there was Mauricio Shogun Rua. Shogun Rua's style was listed as Muay Thai. I'd not really heard of it before, and they were sort of like the in-game sound files that the commentators had about Shogun made it sound so mysterious and so amazing. And then we also stumbled across the TV show Human Weapon, and they had an episode on like Muay Thai and MMA and all this. And then we just stumbled across the Muay Thai gym down the street, so we ended up going training Muay Thai for just Muay Thai, no MMA, even though we were like big fans of MMA for about 3 years, had 3 Muay Thai fights, and then our coach from the Muay Thai gym moved to Middlesbrough Fight Academy to start teaching. We tagged along with him, we started joining in the MMA sessions and have never looked back.
When you started training MMA, was the goal always to be a world champion, or was it just kind of just for fun at the start?
I think deep down the goal was always to take this as far as I could. I might not have known it when I first started, but like definitely the same feeling I had then is still burning now. I do think deep down I've always wanted to be a world champ. I've always wanted to be a UFC fighter, and I've just grafted doing MMA for the last 11 years now, 12 years, and I'm knocking on the door of the UFC, and I've got a Cage Warriors world title, so it's going all right.
And at what point in your career did you really start to believe that you had what it takes to become a world champion? Was there something that just clicked one day and you thought, I'm actually getting really close to a world title shot here?
So I've always had this belief that everyone who is a world champion or is someone really special is still a human being. There's still not much of a like as daft as it sounds. There's not a huge amount of difference between an Anderson Silva and a GSP and your everyday person in the street. The difference is their obsession and their training and what they've come in the gym and what they've done and what they've the actual like techniques and tactics that they've applied in fights and all this stuff. I don't think anyone is inherently a world champion in it, and I do think anyone can be one in MMA. That's one of the great things about it. There isn't like a set genetic makeup that makes you a good, like how runners, there's a set genetic makeup to be like, you're a distance runner, you're a sprinter, or, with basketball, there's a very certain genetic type, whereas fighting, I think, is very inclusive of, you can make any genetic thing work. Like you can be a stocky guy, you've got techniques that can make that work. You can be a lanky guy, you've got techniques that can make that work. You can be like a slow twitch guy, you can make that work. You can be an explosive guy, you can make that work. And I've always seen that and liked that about this sport, and I've always thought there is the potential within me and within George and within anyone to be a world champion and to do good things in this sport. The prerequisite to that is got to actually train and be obsessed with it, and it's got to factor into every decision you make.
And when we spoke at the first Newcastle event when you won the title, you mentioned how you had quite a long and difficult road to the title. What were some of the biggest challenges you overcame in your career?
I've had quite a few challenges, just not even in the immediate lead up to the title fight. Like my first 8 pro fights, I came out with a 5-3 record. Like, that wasn't great. I wasn't particularly active early in my career, so I kind of lost huge amounts of time early in my career. The 3 losses, like, from the out, especially like when you've had 5 wins and 3 losses, a lot of people can kind of look at the outside and say, oh, you're probably not going anywhere. Your kind of self-worth goes down the tube when you see that's your perception of yourself is very based on your results. But I just kept grafting, and then obviously when I got into Cage Warriors and got into the position where I was the number 1 contender, the champion was sitting out for various other reasons, so I had to take another fight, and then there was cancellations, there was this, there was that, and then just even going into that title fight, 10 days out, 12 days out, my original, my original opponent was out, so I had no opponent, so it was up in the air then. But just it came at the right time where I think because of the disappointments and the up and down nature of my career previously, it was just bulletproof. It just bounced off us, and I managed to own the moment, thankfully.
And now that you've won the title, has your life changed at all? Or has it kind of stayed the same?
It's pretty much the same, to be fair. My life is get recognised a bit more, get a little bit more attention, but my life is largely the same. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. Like, if I was to win the Euro Millions tomorrow, I would live the same life I do now. I would have I would have my own house. I would have a nicer car. The gym wouldn't be held together by duct tape. But I would still train twice a day. I would still find some way of competing. I would still do what I'm doing. And the belt didn't change that. It didn't change the fact that I love coming here and I love training and I love grafting and I love improving. If anything, it's kind of lit a bit more of a fire under me. Like, all right, I've got a target on my back. I need to live up to this now. But yeah, it's good. It was a validation at the time, but now the belt's just on the floor in my room and I'm in the gym all the time still.
You mentioned how you're from Middlesbrough. What was your childhood like growing up in the northeast?
So I love my childhood in Middlesbrough. Obviously from Normanby, so the Eston Hills were just like right on my doorstep. Loads of time just going up the Eston Hills, messing about. I love Middlesbrough. I love Teesside. I love the northeast. Like I wouldn't want to have been brought up anywhere else in the world. Like I genuinely have a real love for this area, and I've been around. I've seen a lot more of the world, and I've seen a lot more of the country. I can't put my finger on it. I don't know what it is, but there is something special about Teesside that I love.
And growing up with George, who's a fellow cage race champion, how much of an impact has he had in your career?
I mean, obviously a gigantic impact. Like I don't think we'd both be here without one another. Like there was. There was points where I was maybe a little bit less interested at some point when I was a teenager. Only like smaller points, but maybe if I didn't have George constantly going into the gym and me being, I'll go with him, I might not have stuck at it. And then George had a spell where after an elbow dislocation and various infections, he stopped training, but I kept training, and then obviously that brought him back in. So like without each other, neither of us, I think, would still be here. And it's really good. We've got quite a good relationship where there's no bullshit. We don't care about each other's feelings. We just care about each other's well-being and each other's success. So like, we won't mince words. We won't sugarcoat stuff. If he does something that I think's shit or wrong, I'll tell him. And same goes here. And I think that's healthy. We probably could do with actually complimenting one another once or twice ever, but it works.
What advice would you offer to those from Middlesbrough? Because I know there's some controversy with Middlesbrough sometimes. Some parts of the area aren't known for being the nicest and have some crime and things. What advice would you offer to those who maybe are going down a bad path?
If you're going down the path where if you're ending up on that path of crime and stuff, the overwhelming likelihood is you're actually just being exploited by scumbags. Like, the amount of people I know who end up kind of getting in with the wrong crowd, and then they're being ripped off to sell certain things where if the police were to catch them, they'd be the ones you're being exploited. It's not good. There is nothing good that comes from those circles of people and that style of life. You either end up in prison or dead. Find something. Doesn't have to be MMA. MMA is an incredibly dumb thing to do with your life. Like, obviously we've got a lot of like really great kids in here who graft and don't get into trouble, but it doesn't have to be MMA. Just find something. It can be like an apprenticeship, a job, just some sort of hub where you're surrounded by good people, and then you'll. Sorry, yeah.
And you mentioned how you stopped training for a little point. If you were an MMA fighter, what career path do you think you would have gone down?
Might join the military. I was interested in joining the RAF at some point. I was actually in the the Air Cadets at some point. I really like coffee, so maybe a barista. I might have ended up with some like beard and wavy haircut and just make coffee. I don't know. It's a difficult question to answer. Now I am where I am, like, because I'm so attached to MMA and I'm so attached to coaching and I'm so attached to fighting and like coming here is not a decision, it is what I do. That I do struggle to think what I would do without this.
Oh, but don't want to keep you too long, Harry, so I appreciate your time today, mate. And
I know.
best of luck on the 23rd.
Thank you very much. Thank you.